The London rain lashed against the cathedral roof like whips of leather. Inside, 400 pairs of eyes waited to see a monster. They had come to witness a burned face, to pity, to whisper. The bride stepped through the doors. Her veil was thick, so thick the candlelight could not pierce it. Her gloved hand gripped her father's arm with white-knuckled desperation, too tight, like a woman walking to the gallows. In the third pew, an old woman quietly crossed herself. The clock struck 11:17. The organ groaned like a warning. At the altar, the Duke stood frozen in black. He had never seen the face of the woman he was about to marry. He had paid a fortune not to see it. His fingers found the edge of the lace. Slowly, he began to lift, and every secret buried for 2 long years was about to claw its way into the light.
The morning arrived cold. London rain turned the streets into rivers of mud. Isolde Hartwell sat in her childhood bedroom at Hartwell House, staring at the dress hanging on the wardrobe door, white satin, expensive lace, a gown meant for a woman who believed in love. She didn't. Not anymore, Miss Isolde. The voice came from the doorway. Cordelia Pemberton, the housekeeper who had raised her after her mother died, the only person in the world who knew the truth. I can't do this, Isolde whispered. Cordelia crossed the room, sat beside her on the bed, took her hand. You can. What if he sees me and what? Realizes you're beautiful? That the rumors were lies? Isolde's throat tightened. What if he's angry? Then he's angry. But you'll be a duchess. You'll be protected. And Dorian Blackwell will never touch you again. The name hung in the air like smoke. Dorian even now, 2 years later. The sound of his name made Isolde's hands shake. She closed her eyes, forced herself to breathe. Tell me again, Cordelia said gently. Why you're doing this? Because I'm tired hiding, and because Caspian Ashwood needs money, and father needs a title for me. And I need. She stopped, swallowed. I need to stop being afraid. Cordelia squeezed her hand. Then let's get you married. 2 years earlier, the night everything changed, Isolde was 22. It was her first real social event, a charity ball at the Pembroke estate. Her father had kept her sheltered her whole life, too precious, too vulnerable. But she'd begged, just one night, just one chance to see the world. Augustus Hartwell finally agreed. The ballroom was gold and glittering, chandeliers like frozen stars, women in silk, men in evening coats, music that made the floor vibrate. Isolde wore pale blue, her blonde pinned with pearls. She felt like she was dreaming, and then she saw him watching her, across the room, through the dancers, a man with dark hair and darker eyes. He was older, 30-something, handsome in a way that felt dangerous. He smiled. She looked away, but she felt his gaze follow her all night. At the end of the evening, when the carriages were being called, a servant brought her a note. You are the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I must know your name. D.B. Her father crumpled the note, threw it into the fire. Stay away from Lord Blackwell, he said, his voice tight. That man is poison. Isolde didn't understand, not yet. The letters started the next day, flowers every morning, poems, gifts wrapped in velvet. All signed with the same initials. B. Augustus returned everything, wrote stern letters, threatened legal action. Dorian didn't stop. He began showing up at the park, at the bookshop, at church, always smiling, always polite, always watching Miss Hartwell. He approached her one afternoon outside the milliner's shop. Her maid stood 3 steps behind. Forgive my boldness, but I cannot help myself. You are extraordinary. My father has made his wishes clear. Your father doesn't know me, nor do I wish to. His smile didn't falter. You will, eventually. We are meant for each other. I knew it the moment I saw you. Isolde's pulse hammered. You are mistaken, am I? He stepped closer. Too close. I don't think so. I think you feel it too. She stepped back. Her maid moved forward. Dorian raised his hands, still smiling. I am too eager, but I am a patient man, and I always get what I want. He walked away. Isolde stood frozen on the pavement that night. She told her father everything. Augustus listened, his face hard as stone. "From now on," he said, "you do not leave this house without guards. You do not go anywhere alone. Do you understand?" She understood. She was a prisoner. Dorian didn't give up. He sent messages through mutual acquaintances, showed up at events he knew the Hartwells would attend, cornered Augustus at his club. "I wish to court your daughter properly," Dorian said. "Charming, reasonable. I have wealth, title, reputation. What more could you want for her? For you to leave her alone? Why? What have I done to offend you?" Augustus leaned close, voice low. "I know what you did to the Sutton girl. I know what you are." Dorian's smile vanished. "You know nothing. I know enough." "Then you also know." Dorian's voice turned cold. "That accusations without proof are just slander, and slander can be very expensive." He walked away. Augustus was home and doubled the guards. But Dorian was clever. He began spreading rumors instead. Whispers at parties, hints in drawing rooms, suggestions that perhaps Isolde wasn't as innocent as she seemed, that maybe she had encouraged him, that maybe she wanted his attention, that maybe her father was trying to hide something. The whispers grew louder. People began to look at Isolde differently. At a garden party, one of the young ladies pulled her aside. "Is it true?" the girl whispered. "About you and Lord Blackwell?" Isolde's stomach dropped. "What did you hear? That you too?" The girl blushed. "That you were inappropriate. And now your father is trying to cover it up. That's a lie. Then why does Lord Blackwell keep saying you were close?" Isolde felt the room spin. This was how it happened. This was how men like Dorian destroyed women, not with violence, with words. She told her father that night, "He's trying to ruin me, so you'll have to let him court me, to save my reputation." Augustus's hands curled into fists. "I will kill him first. You can't. He's too powerful, too connected." "Then what do you suggest?" Isolde took a breath. "Let me disappear." Her father stared at her. "If I'm gone," she said, "he can't chase me. If I'm hidden." "Isolde, no, listen. What if there was a reason I couldn't be seen? A reason so terrible that no one would ask questions?" Augustus's face went pale. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying, let them think I was in an accident. A fire. Something that changed me. You want people to think you're disfigured? I want people to stop looking at me like I'm prey." Silence, then Augustus closed his eyes. "You're asking me to let the world believe my daughter is a monster. I'm asking you to let me be safe." He looked at her, really looked, at the fear in her eyes, the exhaustion, the desperation. "All right," he whispered. "All right." The rumor was easy to plant. A house fire, terrible tragedy. Miss Hartwell barely survived. Her face. Oh God, her poor face. The family was devastated, keeping her hidden out of kindness, out of mercy. London devoured the story within a week. Everyone knew the beautiful Miss Hartwell was ruined, and just like that, the attention stopped, the letters stopped, Dorian Blackwell stopped, because no one wanted a scarred bride. Isolde stayed in her room. Curtains, door locked, socks alone, slowly suffocating. 2 years passed, 2 years of being a ghost in her own home, until her father came to her with a different kind of offer. "There's a man," Augustus said, "a duke. He needs money desperately. His estate is drowning in debt." Isolde looked up from her book. And I offered him a solution. Marriage to you, in exchange for clearing his debts." Her heart stopped. "You told him about me?" "I told him the rumors, and he still agreed." Augustus nodded. "He doesn't care what you look like, he just needs the money. So he thinks I'm ugly, yes. And you didn't correct him?" "No?" She should have been angry, insulted, but instead, she felt something close to relief. "What's his name?" "Caspian Ashwood, Duke of Ashwood, 29 years old, no family left, estate in the north, reputation for being cold, distant, unfeeling, perfect." Augustus frowned. "Isolde, he won't want anything from me. Won't expect affection, won't care the time." She stopped. "It's perfect. You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do. I can't stay hidden forever. And this way, I'll have a title, protection, Distance from London. From Dorian, her father's expression darkened at the name. Dorian won't care that you're married. He'll care that I'm a duchess, married to a man with power and connections. He's a predator, but he's not stupid. Augustus studied her face. You've thought about this? I've thought about nothing else for 2 years. Silence. Then he nodded. I'll make the arrangements. St. Catherine's Church. Grand, Gothic, stone walls that held centuries of secrets, the pews filled with London's elite, not because they cared about the bride or groom, but because they wanted to see. They wanted to witness the moment the veil came off. They wanted to see the monster. Isolde stood in the side chamber, dressed in white satin. The veil was custom-made, thick, heavy, layers of lace that fell past her waist. No one could see through it. No one could see her face. Are you ready? Isolde's hands shook. No. That's all right. Brides are never ready. What if when he sees me, he's angry? What if he thinks I tricked him? Cordelia turned her around, looked her in the eyes through the veil. Then you remind him that he agreed to marry you without asking to see your face, that he chose this, and if he has regrets, they're his own. I feel like I'm walking into a trap. You are. But it's a trap you set, and you're the only one who knows where all the doors are. Isolde took a shaky breath. The organ began to play. It's time, Cordelia said. The church doors opened. Isolde stepped into the aisle. Every head turned. The whispers started immediately. Look at the veil. She must be hiding something terrible. Poor Duke Ashwood. Isolde kept her chin up. Her father walked beside her. You can still run, he whispered. No. I can't. They walked forward, step by step, past rows of judging eyes. At the altar, a man stood waiting. Caspian Ashwood, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair, sharp features, expensive coat that couldn't quite hide the tension in his frame. He looked like a man attending a funeral, his own. Isolde stopped beside him. He didn't look at her, not yet. The vicar smiled, opened his book, began to speak. Words about love and honor, duty and commitment, phrases that sounded beautiful and meant nothing. Isolde barely heard them. Her heart pounded too loud. Caspian spoke his vows in a flat voice. Like he was correct, then it was her turn. I will. Her voice didn't shake. Caspian's jaw tightened, just slightly. Did he hear something in her voice? Something that didn't match the monster he expected. The vicar beamed. And now? You may lift the veil. The church went silent. Every person leaned forward. Caspian's hands rose. Slowly. Like he was bracing himself, he gripped the lace. Isolde's pulse roared in her ears. This was it, the moment everything changed. He lifted. The veil rose. Light fell across her face. And Caspian Ashwood forgot how to breathe. She wasn't ugly. Not even close. She was, quite possibly, the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Blonde hair like winter sunlight, pinned with pearls and small white flowers, skin pale and smooth, no scars, no burns, nothing but soft curves and delicate features, and her eyes blue, deep blue, the color of the ocean before a storm. They looked at him with something between defiance and fear. The church erupted in gasps. Good Lord, she's not. Caspian stood frozen. His mind tried to catch up, the rumors, the stories, the ugly bride. All lies. She'd been beautiful all along, and he'd never asked to see her. He'd believed, without question, that she was hideous because it made the bargain easier. Now she stood before him, stunning, terrifying, real, and she was smiling, not a smile, a knowing one, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. Hello, husband, she said softly. Her voice was like honey poured over steel. Caspian's throat worked. You? Yes? You're not ugly? She tilted her head. No, I'm not. The vicar cleared his throat, nervous now. Your Grace, you may kiss your bride. Caspian couldn't move. His entire plan, his entire strategy, it had been built on one assumption, that he could marry a woman he didn't want, that he could keep his distance, that he could stay safe. But looking at Isolde now, with her ocean eyes and knowing smile, he realized he'd never been safe at all. She leaned forward slightly. close enough that he could smell her perfume, light, clean. "Like rain, afraid," she whispered. "No, you should be." Then she reached up, took his face in her hands and kissed him. It wasn't gentle, it wasn't sweet. It was a claim, a challenge, a declaration that churched in stunned silence as the ugly bride kissed her cold duke. And in the middle of that kiss, Isolde pressed something into Caspian's palm, small, folded, hidden a note. He pulled back, face calm for the crowd, but his hand burned where the paper touched his skins. Isolde smiled again, turned to face the guests. Perfect duchess, perfect bride, like she'd been doing this all her life. The vicar announced them man and wife. Applause rose, polite, shocked, confused. Caspian and Isolde walked back down the aisle together, to the watching world. They looked like a love match blessed by heaven, but Caspian's hand clutched the secret note, and his mind raced. Who was this woman? What had he just married? The carriage ride to the wedding breakfast was silent. Isolde sat across from him, hands folded in her lap, veil gone now, face fully visible. She looked out the window, watching London pass. Caspian couldn't stop staring. "You're angry," she said. "Most men would be. I'm not most men." She turned to him. "No. You're a man who agreed to marry a woman without ever seeing her face, which makes you either desperate or foolish or practical. Is that what you call it?" Caspian leaned forward. "What do you call it?" "A mistake." He blinked. Isolde's expression didn't change. "You wanted an ugly wife because you thought it would keep you safe, keep you from feeling anything." His jaw tightened. "But now," she continued, "and I am not safe, I am not easy, and I will not let you hide. You don't know me. I know men like you, men who think emotions are weakness, men who build walls so high they forget what it's like to breathe. And you?" He heard the edge in his own voice. "What are you?" Isolde smiled. "Sad this time. I'm a woman who's been running for 2 years, and I'm tired." "Running from what?" "If I told you now, you wouldn't believe me, so I wrote it down instead." She nodded at his hand, the note. Caspian unfolded it. The paper was thick, expensive, the handwriting neat and careful. "Your Grace, I need you to understand something before we go any further. The rumors about me were lies. I created them on purpose to protect myself from a man who would not stop hunting me. His name is Dorian Blackwell. He is powerful, connected. For 2 years, I have been invisible, safe behind a story so terrible that no one came looking. But marrying you means stepping back into the light, and he will come for me. I am not asking you to fight my battles. I am not asking you to be my hero. I am asking you to let me explain. When we are alone, I will tell you everything. If, after that, you want to send me away, I will understand. But please, give me a chance to tell you the truth." "Your wife, Isolde." Caspian read it twice, then looked up. Isolde watched him. "Waiting. Dorian Blackwell," he said slowly. "You know him?" "I know of him. Rich, titled, charming, yes, and a monster." Caspian's fingers tightened on the note. He should be angry. He should feel tricked, manipulated, but all he felt was curious and something else he hadn't felt in years. "Detective, tonight," he said. "You'll tell me everything, yes, and if I don't believe you?" Isolde's eyes met his, steady, unflinching. "Then I'll leave, and you'll never see me again, and Dorian will win." The carriage rolled to a stop. They had arrived at Hartwell House. Hartwell House was magnificent, all marble and gold, crystal chandeliers, silk wallpaper, the kind of wealth that didn't whisper, it shouted. Augustus Hartwell had built an empire, and now he'd bought his daughter a duke. The guests filled the ballroom. Champagne flowed. Servants carried trays of delicate food that no one really wanted. Everyone wanted one thing: to see the bride, to understand how the ugly girl had fooled them all. Isolde played her part flawlessly. She greeted the dowagers with perfect courtesy, charmed the old men with intelligent conversation, smiled at the young women who looked at her with envy and confusion. She was a natural. Caspian watched from across the room his friend, Thomas Whitmore, appeared at his elbow. Well, Thomas said, this is unexpected. That's one word for it. She's beautiful, I noticed. You look like you've been hit by a carriage. Caspian didn't answer. Thomas studied him. What's wrong? Everything. Want to elaborate? Not here. The room. Augustus Hartwell caught Caspian's eye, gestured for him to follow. Caspian and Caspian excused himself. They met in the library. Dark wood, leather chairs, the smell of old books and expensive cigars. Augustus poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed one to Caspian. You're angry, Augustus said. Should I be? Augustus shook his head. No, you needed to see for yourself. Men never believe that beautiful women can be in danger. They think beauty is protection. It's a target. Caspian sipped his drink. The rumors. You helped spread them. I created them. Why? Augustus's face hardened. Because a man named Dorian Blackwell decided my daughter was his, and when she refused, he tried to destroy her reputation. So I destroyed it first, in a way that would make her worthless to him. That's cruel? Yes, desperate, but it worked for 2 years. For she was safe, and now? Now she's married to a duke, which means she's protected by more than just rumors. Caspian set down his glass. You're using me as a shield. I'm giving you money. You're giving her protection. It's a fair trade. She doesn't feel like a trade. Augustus's expression softened, just slightly. Good, because she's not. She's a woman who's been hunted, who's been terrorized, who's been brave enough to face the world again. What do you want from me? Keeps her safe. That's all. And if Blackwell comes for her? Augustus smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Then you remind him? With power, connections, and the ability to make his life very, very difficult. He finished his drink. Welcome to the family. Your Grace? The afternoon wore on. Guest state. Drank, danced. Isolde moved through it all like she was floating, but Caspian saw the strain, the way her smile went tight when someone asked about her recovery, the way her hands trembled when an older lord stood too close, the way her eyes scanned every doorway like she was waiting for someone. Finally, as the sun began to set, the guests started to leave. Carriages called. Goodbyes exchanged. Caspian and Isolde stood at the door, waving perfect newlyweds when the last guest left. Isolde's shoulders sagged. Tired? Caspian asked, exhausted. We should go. Ashwood Manor is a long ride. She nodded. They climbed into the ducal carriage, larger than before. Meant for a duchess, soft cushions. Warm blankets startled away behind them, night-wrapped London in fog. Isolde leaned her head against the window. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For not shouting. When you saw me, Caspian studied her profile. Did you think I would? I didn't know. I don't shout. You just get very, very still. He almost smiled. You noticed, hard not to. You went completely rigid at the old, like you'd been turned surprised. That's putting it mildly. Silence fell. The carriage swayed gently. Outside, the countryside began. Trees, fields. Darkness, are you afraid? Caspian asked. Isolde turned to him. Of you? Of tonight? Of telling me the truth? She considered. A little. But I'm more afraid not telling you. Why? Because secrets are how Dorian won the first time. He told lies, silent, tried to hide. It didn't work. So this time? This time I tell the truth. All of it. And if the world doesn't believe me... She took a breath. At least I'll know I tried. Caspian felt something shift in his chest. This woman, this brave, terrified, determined woman. She wasn't what he'd expected. She wasn't what he'd wanted. But maybe, just maybe, she was exactly what he needed. Then tell me, he said. Tell me I get home. Isolde nodded. Everything. Ashwood Manor rose from the darkness like a sleeping beast. Stone walls, narrow windows, towers that pierced the sky, a house built for defense. For power, not comfort, torches burned at the entrance. Servants lined up to greet their new duchess. Isolde stepped down from the carriage. The staff bowed. She smiled at each one, learned their names, thanked them for their service. Caspian watched. She was good at this. better than he'd ever been. Cordelia, Isolde's housekeeper from Hartwell House, had come ahead. She greeted Isolde with a hug. "Welcome home, Your Grace." Isolde laughed. It sounded almost real. It doesn't feel real yet. It will inside. Cold. Grand, high ceilings, stone floors, tapestries on the walls. It looked like a place where warmth came to die. Isolde didn't flinch. She walked through it like she belonged. "Your chambers. Your Grace." An older housekeeper appeared. Mrs. Thorne. Grey hair, sharp eyes. "Thank you." They were led upstairs. The ducal bedchamber was massive. 4-poster bed. Heavy curtains. A fireplace large enough to stand in. Candles flickered. A fire burned low. It should have been romantic. Instead, it felt like a stage set. The servants withdrew. Cordelia squeezed Isolde's hand once, then she left too. The door closed. Caspian and Isolde stood on opposite sides of the room, husband and wife, strangers. "Would you like to sit?" Caspian gestured to the chairs by the fire. Isolde nodded. They sat. The fire crackled. Outside, wind howled against the windows. Isolde folded her hands in her lap. "Where do you want me to start?" "The beginning." She took a breath and began to speak. Isolde's voice was steady when she began, but her hand shook. Caspian noticed. He always noticed things like that 2 years ago. "I went to my first ball. Dorian Blackwell saw me and decided I belonged to him." She stared into the fire at first. "I thought it was flattering, a powerful lord noticing me, but father saw something I didn't. He tried to keep me away from Dorian." Caspian leaned forward, but Dorian didn't stop. "No, letters every day, flowers, gifts. He showed up everywhere I went, one afternoon. He cornered me outside a shop, told me we were meant for each other, that he always got what he wanted." Her voice dropped. "I told father everything. He hired guards, but Dorian found other ways." "What ways?" Isolde's eyes met his. "He started spreading rumors that I had encouraged him, that I wanted his attention, that maybe I wasn't as innocent as I seemed. He tried to ruin your reputation," Caspian said. "So your father would have no choice but to accept his suit." "Exactly." The whispers got louder. People started looking at me differently, like I'd done something wrong. She wrapped her arms around herself. "That's when I came up with the plan. If I was going to be ruined anyway, I'd do it myself, in a way that would make me worthless to him. The fire that never happened. I hired people to spread the rumor, made it terrible, made it so awful that no one would ever ask to see me. And it worked. For 2 years, I was safe, hidden, alone, but safe. Silence fell. The fire popped outside. Wind rattled the windows. Caspian studied her face. This woman who had sacrificed everything, her freedom, her beauty, her future, just to escape one man's obsession. "Why didn't your father go to the authorities?" Isolde laughed, bitter. "And say what, that a peer of the realm sent my daughter flowers? Complimented her at parties. There was no crime. Just persistence." She hesitated. "There was another girl before me. Her name was Millicent Sutton. She was beautiful, smart, 23 years old, past tense." Caspian felt ice slide down his spine. What happened to her? Dorian pursued her the same way. For months she tried to refuse, but he was patient, charming. Isolde's voice cracked. "He's hurt her life. She had to leave London, live in hiding. She's still out there somewhere, too terrified to come back." Caspian stood. He couldn't sit anymore, too much anger. He paced to the window, looked out. Had done this before, multiple times. And no one stopped him, no one could. He's too powerful, too connected. He knows how to play the game, and now, "You think he'll come for you again?" It wasn't a question. Isolde nodded. "He will. When he hears I'm married, when he sees I'm no longer hidden, he'll see it as a challenge." Caspian turned, then let him come. Isolde stood too. "You don't understand. He won't fight fair. He'll find ways to hurt you, to hurt us." "He'll." The words came out flat fine. Isolde stared at him. "You married me," Caspian said. "That means you're under my protection. Whether I expected you to be beautiful or not, whether this marriage was supposed to be cold or not, you're mine now, yours, She said it like she was testing the word. Caspian stepped closer. I'm not a good man. I'm not warm. I'm not kind. I spent the last 8 years building walls so high I forgot what it felt like to care about anything. Then why? Because you walked into that church with your head high, knowing everyone was waiting to see you fail. And you didn't flinch. His voice dropped. Because you've been braver in 2 years than I've been in my entire life. Isolde's breath caught. I can't promise I'll be the husband you deserve, Caspian continued. But I can promise. No one will hurt you while I'm alive. Tears filled her eyes. She blinked them back. Thank you, don't thank me yet. Why not? Because I'm going to ask you to do something difficult. What? Stop hiding. The days that followed were strange. Isolde and Caspian were married, but they didn't know each other. They shared a house, meals, a last name, but not a bed. Caspian had moved to the adjoining chamber. Until you're comfortable, he'd said. Isolde appreciated it. She did. But part of her wondered, what did comfortable even mean anymore? She spent her mornings exploring the manor. It was massive, cold, beautiful in a harsh way. Cordelia helped her settle in. The staff likes you, Cordelia said one morning. They barely know me. They know you're kind. That's more than they've had in years. What do you mean? Cordelia hesitated. Then she led Isolde to the library. The room was dark, dusty, clearly unused. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books no one had touched in decades. In the corner, a writing desk. Cordelia opened a drawer, pulled out a leather-bound journal. This belonged to the late Duchess, Caspian's mother. Lady Eleanor. Isolde took it carefully. Should I be reading this? She would have wanted you to, I think. You knew her. I came here as a young maid, when the old Duke was still alive. Cordelia's face darkened. The old Duke was not a kind man. He was cold, cruel. He treated his wife like property, and his son like a disappointment. Isolde's chest tightened. Eleanor tried for years. She tried to reach her husband, to make him love her, but he didn't believe in love. He believed in duty. Nothing else. What happened to her? She passed away when Caspian was 12. The doctors said it was her heart. But I think... Isolde looked down at the journal. Read it, Cordelia said gently. You'll understand him better. That night, after dinner, Isolde sat by the fire in her chamber and opened Eleanor's journal. The handwriting was elegant, delicate, but the words were anything but. I write this because I have no one else to tell. My husband does not speak to me unless necessary. My son is too young to understand, and I am so very alone. I thought marriage would be different. I thought if I was good enough, patient enough, he would learn to love me. But he doesn't want love. He wants an heir, a hostess, a decoration. I am not a person to him. I am a function. Isolde's throat ached. She kept reading. Caspian is growing up afraid. I see it in the way he watches his father, the way he holds himself so carefully, like if he shows emotion punished. I try to tell him it's all right to feel, to cry, to be angry, but his father teaches him the opposite. Emotions are weakness, that's what he says, and my son, my beautiful boy, is learning to be just like him, cold, distant, safe. I am watching my husband kill my son's heart, and I don't know how to stop it. The entries grew darker, more desperate. Eleanor's hope fading page by page, until finally, I am tired, so tired, of being invisible, of being unloved, of watching my son turn into stone. I wanted to be strong enough to save him, but I am not. I am sorry, Caspian. I am so sorry. That was the last entry, dated 3 days before she passed away. Isolde closed the journal. Her hands shook. She understood now why Caspian had wanted an ugly wife, why he'd built those walls. He wasn't cruel. He was terrified. Terrified of becoming his father. Terrified of hurting someone the way his father hurt his mother. So he'd decided to feel nothing, want nothing, need nothing. But life didn't work that way, and Isolde was proof. She found him in his study late, past midnight. He sat at his desk, papers spread out, candles burning low. He looked up when she entered. Can't sleep? No. You? I don't sleep much. Isolde held up the journal. Caspian went very still. Where did you get that, Cordelia? She thought I should read it, and did you? Yes, silence. Caspian looked back at his papers. Then you know. I'm my father's son. Cold, distant, incapable of... No. He looked up. Surprised, Isolde crossed the room, set the journal on his desk. You're not him. You're afraid of being him. That's different, is it? Yes. Because your father didn't care. He didn't question himself. He didn't worry about hurting people. But you do. Caspian's gauze worked. You married me thinking I was ugly, Isolde said. Not because you're cruel, but because you thought it would keep you from feeling anything, from wanting anything. It was supposed to be simple. Nothing about people is simple. I know that now. Isolde pulled up a chair, sat across from him. Your mother loved you. More than anything. And she was terrified that you'd lose yourself trying to survive your father. She died, thinking I'd already lost. No. She died hoping you'd find yourself again. Caspian's eyes glistened. He looked away. Fast, but not fast enough. Isolde saw. You don't have to be like him, she said softly. You can choose differently. Even now, even after everything. I don't know how, then we'll figure it out. Together, he looked at her. Really looked. Why are you being kind to me? Because you've been kind to me, you listened. You believed me. You didn't send me away. I should have been angry, maybe. But you weren't. No. I was curious. About what? About who you really are, Isolde smiled. Sad. I'm not sure I know any more. I've been pretending for so long, then maybe we can both stop pretending. And be what instead? Honest. At least with each other. She nodded. Honest, I can do that. 3 days later, the letter arrived. A rider came at dawn, mud-splattered, exhausted, for the Duchess. From London, urgent, Isolde opened it in the breakfast room. Caspian sat across from her, drinking coffee. Reading the Morning Post, he saw her face change. The color drained, her hands started to shake. What is it? She handed him the letter without a word. He read it. My dearest Isolde, congratulations on your marriage. I was delighted to hear the news, delighted and intrigued. I always knew the rumors about your face were exaggerated. I knew you were hiding, waiting, but I confess, I did not expect you to marry a duke. How clever of you. How very, very clever. I look forward to seeing you again. Now that you've stepped back into the light, I've missed you. Yours always. D.B. Caspian set the letter down carefully. His voice was calm, too calm. When was this sent? Isolde checked the date. 2 days ago, from London. He knows. Of course he knows. Everyone knows. It was the wedding of the season. Caspian stood, walked to the window, looked out at the grounds. He's testing you, seeing if you'll run. I'm not running. Good, because we're going to end this. Isolde stood too. How? I don't know yet. But we will, he turned to her. You're not alone anymore, do you understand? Whatever he does, whatever he tries, you're not facing it alone. Isolde felt something crack open in her chest, something that had been frozen for 2 years. Thank you. Stop thanking me. I can't help it. Try. She almost smiled, almost. But the letter sat on the table between them. A threat, a promise Dorian was coming. The only question was when. Isolde decided to go into the village the next day. She needed air, space, a reminder that the world was bigger than one man's obsession. Caspian offered to accompany her. She accepted. They rode in an open carriage. Through the countryside, past fields and farms, the people of Ashwood Village were curious. Their new Duchess, the one they'd heard about, the ugly bride who wasn't ugly at all. Isolde smiled, waved, stopped to speak with the shopkeepers. Caspian watched her. She was good with people, natural, warm, everything he wasn't. An old woman approached her outside the bakery. Your Grace, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Thank you. What's your name, Mrs. Hartley? I've lived here 60 years. Then you must know everything about this place. Mrs. Hartley laughed. I know enough. Tell me, what does this village need? What can I do to help? The old woman blinked. Surprised. You want to help? Of course, Mrs. Hartley glanced at Caspian. He nodded. She took a breath. The school needs repairs. The roof leaks. The children get cold in winter. Then we'll fix it, Your Grace. That would cost. I'll speak to my husband. We'll make it happen." Caspian stepped forward. "Consider it done." Mrs. Hartley's eyes filled with tears. "God bless you both." She walked away. Isolde turned to Caspian. "Was that all right? I didn't mean to commit your funds without asking. It's your money too now. Do what you want with it. I want to help people." Then help them, a real smile. Caspian felt something shift in his chest, something uncomfortable. Something that felt suspiciously like affection, dangerous. The knock came at midnight, hard, urgent. Caspian woke instantly. He grabbed his robe, crossed to the door. A footman stood there. "There's, white-faced, there's a woman here. She came on foot, in the rain. She's asking for the Duchess." "Who is she?" "She says her name is Millicent Sutton." Caspian's blood went cold. Isolde came down the stairs still in her nightgown. Robe thrown over, hair loose, in the entrance hall. A woman stood dripping, mid-20s, brown hair plastered to her face. Dress muddy, shaking, but her eyes were steady. Isolde, Millie, they stared at each other. Then Isolde crossed the hall, pulled the woman into her arms. They both started crying. Caspian stood frozen. He'd never seen Isolde cry before. Not like this. Not with relief and grief and something that looked like hope. "I thought you were gone," Isolde whispered. "I thought I'm alive. I'm here. How did you find me? I heard about your wedding. I had to come. I had to warn you." Isolde pulled back. "Warn me." Millicent's face was grim. "He's not in London anymore, Dorian. He left 3 days ago." "Where did he go?" "North. Toward Ashwood." The room went cold. Caspian stepped forward. "When?" Millicent looked at him. "Who are you?" "Her husband." Millicent's eyes widened. "The Duke." "Yes. When did he leave?" 3 days ago. "He's traveling slowly, making stops, visiting estates. But he's coming here, you're sure?" "I'm sure. I've been following him." Isolde's eyes went wide. "Millie, that's dangerous, I know. But I had to. I couldn't let him hurt you too." Caspian's mind raced. 3 days, traveling slowly. That meant he could be here as early as tomorrow. Millicent nodded, maybe sooner. Isolde looked at Caspian, fear in her eyes, but also determination. "Then we prepare." The household moved into action. Caspian sent riders to the magistrate, to the neighbouring estates, to London. He doubled the guard, locked the gates, made it clear no one entered without permission. Millicent was given a room. Dry clothes, hot tea. Isolde sat with her. They talked quietly, about the last 3 years, about what Dorian had done to Millicent, about how she'd survived. Caspian listened from the doorway. He didn't interrupt, but he heard every word, and with every word, his rage grew colder, sharper, more focused. When Millicent finally fell asleep, exhausted, Isolde joined him in the hall. "She's been living in hiding," Isolde said, "for 3 years, moving from town to town, afraid to stay anywhere too long. Because of him. Yes, he never officially pursued her, never wrote letters. But he made sure she knew. He was watching, waiting. He's been terrorizing her, and she's been brave enough to warn me. Even though it puts her at risk." Caspian looked at his wife. "You're not running? Good. Because neither am I." Morning came grey and cold. Rain fell in sheets. The manor felt like a fortress. Caspian stood in his study with Thomas, his oldest friend, his solicitor. Thomas had ridden through the night to get here. "Tell me everything," Thomas said. Caspian did. Thomas listened, face growing darker. "This man has been doing this for years?" "Yes, and no one's stopped him. He's too powerful, too connected." "Not anymore. You're a duke. That gives you leverage." "Leverage isn't enough. You have 2 witnesses. Isolde and Millicent, their word against his. It won't hold in a court of public opinion." "Then what do you suggest?" Caspian was quiet. Then he said, "We let him come." Thomas stared. "You're joking, refuse. Turn him away, he'll just find another way. But if we let him in, controlled, witnessed, we can expose him. That's risky. Everything is risky now." Thomas rubbed his face. "You care about her, don't you?" It wasn't a Caspian didn't answer. He didn't have to. The message came that afternoon's tour, a rider, wearing Blackwell livery. Lord Blackwell sends his regards. He will arrive this evening. He hopes that Duke and Duchess receive him. Caspian took the note. Ride it. His face showed nothing. Tell your master he is welcome. For dinner, 7 o'clock. The rider bowed, left. Isolde appeared at Caspian's side. You invited him? Yes. Why? Because I'm done letting him control this. We're going to face him. Together. On our terms, Caspian. He's dangerous. So am I. She stared at him. This man she'd married thinking he was cold, distant, unfeeling. But he wasn't any of those things. He was just careful. And right now, he was the most dangerous person in the room. What do you need me to do? She asked. Be yourself. Don't hide. Don't apologize. Show him exactly who you are. And if he tries something, he won't. Not here. Not with witnesses, you're sure? No. But I'm not letting fear win. Isolde took a breath. All right. Then neither am I. 7 o'clock came too fast. Isolde dressed carefully, a gown of deep emerald. Pearls at her throat. She looked like a duchess, strong, beautiful, untouchable. Caspian wore black, formal, severe. They stood together in the drawing room waiting. Millicent had offered to stay upstairs. I can't face him, she'd said. Not yet. Not yet, Isolde understood. The clock struck 7. The butler appeared, Lord Dorian Blackwell. Your Grace, and he walked in. Dorian Blackwell was everything Isolde remembered. Tall. Dark hair, sharp features, expensive clothes, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He looked at her, and his smile widened. Isolde, you look radiant. Caspian stepped between them, Lord Blackwell. Welcome to Ashwood Manor, Dorian's eyes flicked to him. Your Grace. Thank you for receiving me, of course. Please, sit. They sat. A servant poured wine. The air was thick with tension. Dorian lifted his glass to the happy couple. Caspian didn't drink. Neither did Isolde. Dorian noticed. His smile turned sharp. You seem tense. Is something wrong? Not at all, Caspian said. We're simply by your visit. Are you? I thought it only polite to congratulate an old friend. We were never friends, Isolde said. Her voice was steady. Dorian looked at her. No? I remember differently. I remember a young woman who smiled at me, who accepted my gifts, who was terrified of you. Isolde cut him off. Who tried to escape you, who had to disappear because you wouldn't stop. The room went silent. Dorian's smile vanished. That's not how I remember it. Then your memory is faulty. Or yours is. Caspian set down his glass, I think. It's time for you to leave. Dorian didn't move. I just arrived, and now you're leaving. I don't think so. I'm not asking. Dorian stood, slow, deliberate. You don't know who you're dealing with. A man who preys on women, who uses his power to terrorize, who has been doing it for years. Dorian's face went cold. Careful, Duke. Accusations like that can be dangerous, so can the truth. You have no proof. I have 2 witnesses. Witnesses can be discredited. Not these ones. Dorian's eyes narrowed. 2? Caspian smiled. Did you think Isolde was the only one? The only woman brave enough to speak? For the first time, Dorian looked uncertain. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. A door opened. Millicent stepped into the room. She was shaking, but her chin was up, her eyes clear. Dorian went white. Me, you're supposed to be dead? Hiding, too afraid to ever show my face. Millicent walked forward. I was, for 3 years. But not anymore. Dorian backed toward the door. This is a setup. No, Caspian said. This is a reckoning. Dorian looked between them. Then he laughed. Sharp. Bitter. You think this changes anything? You think 2 women's words will matter? Against mine? Maybe not, Isolde said. But we're going to try. No one will believe you, then we'll make them believe. Dorian's face twisted for a moment. The mask slipped and they saw what was underneath: rage, entitlement, cruelty. You're making a mistake, he said. No, Caspian said. You made the mistake. My wife was yours, she was mine first. She was never yours. Dorian moved toward the door. Caspian didn't stop him. Leave, now, and don't come back. Dorian paused. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Dorian left. The door slammed. Silence. Isolde sank into a chair. Millicent started crying. Caspian stood in the middle of the room, heart pounding, hands shaking. He'd done it. They'd done it. They'd faced the monster and survived. One afternoon, 3 weeks after Dorian's visit, a letter arrived, not from Dorian, from Augustus. Isolde's father. She opened it in the drawing room. Caspian sat nearby, pretending to read, actually watching her face. As she read, her expression changed, surprise. Then something else, sadness. "What is it?" he asked. Isolde looked up. "Father wants to visit," he says. "He has something to tell me, something he should have told me years ago." "When?" "Next week." Caspian set down his book. "Do you want him to come?" "I don't know. We haven't spoken much since the wedding. I was angry at him for hiding me for so long, and now I understand. He was trying to protect me, but part of me still wishes he'd fought harder. Instead of letting me disappear." Caspian was quiet for a moment, then he said, "Right back. Tell him to come. You deserve to hear what he has to say." Isolde nodded. All right. Augustus Hartwell arrived on a grey afternoon, carriage rolling up the drive. Footman rushing to help. He stepped out, older than Isolde remembered, greyer, more tired. She met him at the door. They stood looking at each other. Then Augustus opened his arms, and Isolde stepped into them. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. For what?" "For everything, for hiding you, for not fighting harder, for not telling you the truth." Isolde pulled back. "What truth?" Augustus looked past her to Caspian. "May we speak, the three of us?" Privately, they gathered in Caspian's study, fire burning, doors closed. Augustus sat heavily in a chair. He looked haunted. "I owe you both an explanation," he began, "about why I was so desperate to protect Isolde, why I was willing to lie to all of London. We know about Dorian." Isolde said, "It's not just Dorian, it's deeper than that." He took a breath. 25 years ago, I had a younger sister, Caroline. She was beautiful, kind, only 18 years old. Isolde's breath caught. She'd never known her father had a sister. "There was a man," Augustus continued, "a lord. Wealthy, powerful, charming." He pursued Caroline relentlessly. "My parents were thrilled. They thought it was a brilliant match." His hands curled into fists. "But Caroline was afraid of him. She told me he made her uncomfortable, that he was too intense, too possessive." "What happened?" Caspian asked quietly. "I told my parents. They didn't believe me," said Caroline was being dramatic, "that she didn't understand how courtship worked." Augustus's voice broke. They pushed her toward him, encouraged the match, and one night, at a ball, he cornered her in a dark hallway, and he hurt her terribly. Against her will, Isolde's hand flew to her mouth. "She told my parents afterward," Augustus said, "begged them to break the engagement. But the man, he was so connected, so powerful. My parents were afraid of the scandal. They told her to be quiet, to marry him, to do her duty." Tears streamed down his face. Caroline couldn't bear it. A week before the wedding, she passed away. The doctors said her heart gave out, but I knew she died of a broken spirit. She couldn't live in a world where no one protected her. Silence, heavy, crushing. "I was 15 years old," Augustus said. "I watched my sister die because the people who were supposed to protect her didn't." He looked at Isolde. "So when Dorian started pursuing you, when I saw that same look in his eyes, that same entitled hunger, I swore I would not let history repeat itself." "The man who hurt Caroline," Caspian said, his voice ice. "Who was he?" Augustus met his gaze. "Lord Gerald Blackwell." "Dorian's father." The room went cold. Isolde's blood turned to ice in her veins. "Dorian's father." "Yes, Gerald died 10 years ago." "His son is exactly like him. Does Dorian know?" Isolde whispered. "About Caroline, I don't know. Maybe that's why he targeted you. Maybe he knew you were Caroline's niece." Caspian stood, paced to the window, his mind racing. This wasn't just about one man's obsession. This was generational, a pattern of abuse, power. Silence, and it had to end. "We're going to stop him," Caspian said. Augustus looked up. "How?" "We're going to make sure everyone knows what he is, what his father was. We're going to break the silence, the scandal, Will be on him, not on Caroline, not on any of the women he's hurt. Augustus stared at him, then slowly. He nodded. Tell me what you need. The plan came together over the next week. Thomas arrived from London, bringing legal documents, connections, strategies. They would host a charity event, a ball. In London, I'd invite everyone who mattered, press, nobility, influential families, and there, in front of everyone, they would tell the truth, not just about Dorian, about the system that protected men like him. It's risky, Thomas warned. If this backfires, you could both be ruined. We're already at risk, Isolde said. At least this way. We control the story. Millicent wanted to be part of it. I'll speak too, she said. I'll tell what happened to me, Millie. You don't have to. Yes, I do. I've been silent for 3 years. I'm done being silent. Isolde hugged her. 2 survivors, refusing to hide anymore. The invitations went out. A charity ball, hosted by the Duke and Duchess of Ashwood, proceeds to benefit women in need. London buzzed the ugly bride who wasn't ugly, the cold Duke who'd suddenly emerged from his estate. What were they planning? Dorian received an invitation too. He didn't respond, but everyone knew he'd come. He couldn't resist. His pride wouldn't allow it. The night before they left for London, Isolde couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony of her chamber, looking out at the dark grounds. The door opened behind her. Caspian stepped out. Can't sleep either? No. He joined her at the railing. They stood in silence for a while. Then Isolde said, what if this doesn't work? What if we stand up there, tell our truth, and no one believes us? Then at least we tried. That's not very comforting, I know. She looked at him. This man she'd married as a stranger, who'd become. Something more, are you afraid? She asked, terrified. Of what? Of failing you. Her breath caught. You could never. I could. I almost did. When I married you thinking you were ugly, I was ready to ignore you, to keep you at a distance, to use you as a shield against feeling anything. But you didn't, because you wouldn't let me. He turned to face her fully. You walked into my life. Whether I wanted to or not, Isolde's heart pounded. And do you want to? Yes. He reached out, cupped her face in his hands. I'm not good at this, at love, at warmth, at any of it. But I'm trying from trying. Tears slid down Isolde's cheeks. You're better at it than you think. He leaned his forehead against hers. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know. I don't want to face it without you. You won't have to. He kissed her then, soft, gentle. A promise when they pulled apart. Isolde whispered, I love you. Caspian's eyes closed. I love you too. The words felt like freedom. London, the ballroom glittered, chandeliers, music, hundreds of people in their finest clothes. They came to see, to judge, to gossip. Isolde wore deep blue, sapphires at her throat, hair swept up, shoulders bare. She looked like a Caspian stood beside her, formal, severe, a duke in every sense. Millicent wore soft grey, simple, elegant. She stood with Augustus and Cordelia, a small army of support. The guests mingled, drank champagne, whispered, where's Lord Blackwell? He'll come. He always does. And then the doors opened. Dorian walked in. The room went quiet. He looked exactly the same. Handsome, confident, smiling, like a man who'd never done anything wrong. His eyes found Isolde across the room. He raised his glass in a mock toast. She didn't flinch. The music played. People danced. The evening went on, until the clock struck 9. Then Caspian stepped into the small stage. The music stopped. Everyone turned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming tonight. Your generosity will help many women in need. Polite applause. But that's not the only reason we invited you here. The room shifted. Curious now, my wife and I, we have something to say. Something that's been hidden for too long. Isolde stepped up beside him. Her heart hammered, but her voice was steady. 25 years ago, a young woman named Caroline Hartwell was pursued by a powerful lord. When she refused his advances, he hurt her against her will, and when she tried to speak out, society told her to be quiet, to protect his reputation. Gasps rippled through the crowd. That woman was my aunt, Isolde continued. And she died. Because no one would listen. Because no one would help, Augustus stepped forward. I am that woman's brother. And I have lived with the guilt of not saving her. Every day for 25 years. The room was silent now, completely silent. The man who hurt her, Isolde said, was Lord Gerald Blackwell. More gasps. Eyes turned to Dorian. He stood frozen, fox-white. And his son, Isolde said clearly, has followed into his footsteps. Dorian stepped forward. It's truth, Millicent said. She walked onto the stage, trembling, but standing tall. My name is Millicent Sutton. 3 years ago, Dorian Blackwell pursued me. I refused. He didn't stop. He hurt me. And then he spread rumors that destroyed my reputation. Forced me to leave London. To live in hiding. Dorian's face twisted. She's lying. I'm not. Millicent's voice broke. But she didn't stop. And I'm not the only one. 3 more women stepped forward from the crowd. Each one had a story. Each one had been silenced. Until now, Dorian backed toward the door. This is a conspiracy. They're all lying, trying to destroy me because you're a predator, Caspian said. You use your power, your position, your charm to hunt women, to hurt them, and then you silence them with threats, with rumors, with fear. You have no proof. We have 5 witnesses. We have patterns. We have years of behavior. It won't matter. No one will believe. We already do. The voice came from the back. An older duchess. Lady Pemberton, she stood. I've heard the whispers about you for years, Blackwell. We all have. We didn't want to see. Another woman stood, then another. One by one, women throughout the ballroom rose, a silent statement. We believe. Dorian looked around. Trapped. Exposed, the mask finally shattered. You'll regret this. He spat at Isolde. No, she said quietly. You will. He turned, plived through the crowd, disappeared into the night. The room erupted. Conversations. Shock. Support. Some people left, uncomfortable with the truth. But most stayed, and when the music started again, it felt different. Lighter, like something had shifted, like maybe, just maybe, chant was possible. Later that night, at the townhouse, Isolde sat in the drawing room, exhausted, exhilarated, terrified. Caspian found her there. How do you feel? I don't know. Free, maybe. For the first time, he sat beside her. You were incredible tonight. We all were. Millie, the other women. They were so brave. So were you. She leaned against him now. I don't know. But I think Dorian's power is broken. Society saw him. Really? And they turned away. He'll try to rebuild, maybe. But it won't be the same. He's been exposed. And men like him. They can't survive without the shadows. Isolde was quiet. Then she said, Your mother would be proud of you. Caspian's throat tightened. You think so? I know so. She wanted you to be different from your father. And you are. You're everything he wasn't. He kissed the top of her head. We're going to be all right. You know that. I'm starting to believe it. 9 months later. Ashwood Manor in spring. The gardens bloomed, flowers everywhere. Colour. Life. Beauty. Isolde walked through them slowly. Caspian found her by the rose bushes. Their daughter Eleanor Rose, 3 months old, sleeping in her mother's arms. You're supposed to be resting. I was resting. Now I'm walking, the doctor said. The doctor said, like Sarsize, is fine. This is light. He shook his head. This woman, his wife, his duchess, the mother of his child, she'd turned his entire world upside down, and he'd never been more grateful. Millie's in the library, Isolde said. She finished her book. Her story? Yes, she says. She wants other women to know they're not alone. That's brave. She is brave. She always was. She just needed to remember. Caspian took Isolde's hand. They walked together. Through the gardens, past the fountain. Around the house, have you heard? Isolde asked. About Dorian, Thomas England. Gone to the continent. His creditors were closing in, and without his reputation. He couldn't borrow anymore. Good. He won't be back. I know. I'm not afraid anymore. Caspian stopped, turned her to face him. You never have to be afraid again. Do you understand? I will spend the rest of my life making sure of it. Isolde's eyes filled with tears, happy tears. I know, and I'll spend the rest of mine reminding you that you're capable of love, of warmth, of everything you thought couldn't be. He kissed her, soft, sweet, a promise kept when they pulled apart. Isolde laughed. What? Caspian asked. I was just thinking about that day in the church. When you lifted my veil, I remember. I thought my heart was going to stop. Were you angry? When you realized I wasn't ugly? No, I was terrified of what? Of wanting you, of caring, of feeling, and now. I can't imagine my life without any of it. Isolde rested her head on his chest, listened to his heartbeat. Oh, steady. Alive. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For not sending me away. When you found out the truth, I could never have sent you away. You didn't know that then, maybe not. But I knew, the moment I saw you, that my life would never be the same. Is that a good thing? He pulled back, looked into her eyes. It's the best thing. Inside the manor, Cordelia was preparing tea. Augustus was visiting, playing chess with Thomas in the study. Millicent sat in the library, her published book on the decks beside her. Women across England were reading it, sharing their own stories. The silence was breaking. Augustus had started a foundation in Caroline's name to help women escape dangerous situations. Isolde ran it with him. Caspian funded it together. They were changing things slowly, but surely. And in the garden, Isolde and Caspian stood in the sunlight, hand in hand, their daughter between them. Two people who'd been broken, who'd been afraid, who'd been lost now, found. Isolde looked up at the sky, blue, endless, clear, and she thought about the girl she used to be, the one who hid behind lies, who lived in fear, who thought she'd never be free. That girl was gone now, in her place, a woman who'd learned to be brave, to stand tall, to speak truth, to love, and to let herself be loved. She closed her eyes, felt the warmth on her face, the baby's weight in her arms, Caspian's hand in hers, and she knew this was what healing felt like. Not perfect, not without scars, but whole, real, alive. She opened her eyes, smiled, and walked toward home. Caspian waited, where her family waited, where life, real life, waited. The veil was gone, the masks were gone, only truth remained, and truth was enough.